Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Summer Sessions Live. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Chris Gerrard here. He's our guest presenter this morning. I'm going to hand straight over and let Chris introduce himself, but I would just like to thank you, Chris, so much for giving up your time and coming to present for us this morning. Welcome to KWETB, welcome from all of us, and I suppose I know you as Mr. Accessible. So can't wait to hear what you've got in store for us this morning. Thanks a million,
Brilliant.
Chris.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much, Ashley. Thanks very much for having us here. It's brilliant. It's obviously something that I love talking about is inclusion and accessibility. So it's great that I'm able to share that. So just to give you a sort of idea of my session before I go into who I am. So my session is obviously called Empowering Every Student in the Inclusive Classroom. I'm wearing my Flipgrid Empower Every Voice t-shirt for you as well. So it's a topic that's really close to my heart. And today I'm not going to give you a kind of deep dive on the tools. What I'm really going to do is, just because I know Ashley's done a session on things like immersive readers, so we'll be going through that, but really how that's impacted me personally as an educator, but also the kind of life-changing effect that has had on some of the students that I've worked with. In terms of the session as well, we'll be breaking it into the 4 key areas of the inclusive classroom, looking at reading, writing, maths if you're American, and communication as well. So thinking, who am I? Well, that's a picture of me from quite a while ago, about 5-6 years ago at least. I was going to change it, but that was prior to lockdown, and the way I look now, I'm definitely not changing it. So yes, I'm an additional support needs teacher in Scotland at a school called Lanark Grammar in a sort of ASN specialist base. I have been an MIE expert since 2017, and it's been an incredible experience. It's totally changed my life. The connections I've made. I obviously wouldn't have known Ashley if it wasn't for the MIE expert programme. Met so many incredible global educators from around the world, connecting with them, doing projects with them. It's been amazing. So if you aren't part of the MIE community, then I would encourage you wholeheartedly make a start on getting there. I'm also this year became a master trainer, which means I've trained over 400 people this session. I did the MCE, Microsoft Certified Educator exam, and I'm also a Flipgrid Student Voice Ambassador and what's called a Grid Guide, supporting people with getting into Flipgrid, and a Weeklet Ambassador. I was really excited last week because I won MIE Expert of the Year for Scotland for 2019-20, and I was also meant to go with Ashley to E2 because I won a global competition that Flipgrid ran, but unfortunately, no, that's my luck. I never win anything, and then when I do win a once in a lifetime trip to Australia, it's cancelled. But hopefully it'll be rescheduled. So that's it, and you can obviously find me on Twitter, which we'll come back to. So let's go through the features of the inclusive classroom and reading. Obviously, it's a key part of that. Now, as we've moved to a remote classroom, the amount of reading that the students are getting has probably doubled, tripled, quadrupled, because all their teachers, instead of giving them all these verbal instructions, in the class, breaking things down for them, many teachers, not a fault of their own, because some are on their, in terms of their technological journeys, are much further behind than others. So they're sending young people screens and text. They're sending them PDFs full of text, they're sending them Word documents full of text, they're sending them website links full of text. But where's the support for them to read that? It's like, they're relying on maybe somebody at home or the kids knowing about these tools that are available to them. And the key thing is, a lot of places haven't told them about these tools. Now, with Immersive Reader, I've done lots of presentations on Immersive Reader. I did every day at BET this year. I did a session on Immersive Reader, and every time I ask people, I say, how many of you have actually heard of Immersive Reader? And the numbers are staggering in terms of that. I could have a room full of 100 people, and I may get maybe 10 people or so putting their hand up. How people have actually tried it, then it maybe halves. How many are using it every day with their students, and you maybe get one. So it really is so important. This is me banging the drum, but it's so important that you share this with everyone you know. It doesn't matter who they are, whether it's your students, your friends, your colleagues, your little granny, your whoever, the janitor in the school, the cleaner. Share it with everyone because it's such a life-changing, transformative tool. So I'm just going to kind of go through the features that I know Ashley will have touched on before we did the Immersive Reader session, but how they've linked to practice in the classroom. So obviously in terms of text-to-speech software, I used to work as a head of support for learning for 5 years at Edinburgh Academy, and the software changed so quickly. But when I joined, which was 2014, the software was clunky. Immersive Reader wasn't available at that time, so it was clunky. It was another add-on. It would crash, and you'd have to restart it. And especially when you're using it at things like formal assessments, you know, as soon as it crashed, you know, you're the person that's to solve it immediately. So you know, everyone will be looking at you, the student, the invigilator, the exams officer, the chief invigilator. Everyone's looking at you to solve it there and then, you know. And then you can just feel the parental complaint email getting longer and longer as the time goes on further and further. So the key thing with accessibility and tools like text-to-speech is that it's integrated in what you're using. It's there. It's not an add-in. It's not an extra piece of software that the computer's having to deal with. It's there. And the key thing for anyone is that you shouldn't have to ask for it. It should be there by default, you know, and that's why I love Immersive Reader so much. It's across all the tools in the Microsoft platform, you know, from OneNote to Teams to Flipgrid to Word. It's there. That's why I love it so much. And the thing is, you know, with one click, Immersive Reader logo, which you just saw there before, you're launched into this incredible world. I always think there should be like some sort of animation or sparkle dust. Ashley's great at them, so maybe she could do she could do one for the people at Microsoft, because it's just a fantastic tool. So easy for them to just launch it and then hit play. It's also incredible to use for students that have maybe a visual impairment. A lot of students don't actually realise that they have a visual impairment, and that using a colour overlay or filter can be transformational when they're reading. And I've actually used the Immersive Reader as almost a kind of informal assessment tool, because what I do is with students, I say they're struggling to read things on paper, so what I can do is launch the Immersive Reader, get page colours up and say, is this better? Is this? And they go, oh, that makes such a difference. So, you know, I didn't have to send them to a specialist to get, just by doing a little bit of class testing in that way, to be able to say, well, that the student can then say to me, that makes an incredible difference. And it's so much better than the physical form, because, you know, they don't want to carry them about. It's drawn attention to them. You know, no one wants to be drawn attention to. They lose them, so you give them another one, and then you lose them again, and you give them, and then it goes on and goes on. So having these amazing colour filters in there just for them to click can make such a difference in them accessing a text. It also can support your writing, not just your reading, and being able to break the words down into syllables and then different parts of the speech. I teach personally a group of students literacy intervention, small group of 4 who are 12 years old, but their literacy is maybe a kind of 6-year-old level. So obviously I've been teaching them about Immersive Reader because I want to prepare them for, you know, life ahead, you know, and to be as independent as they can be. But at the same time, I still don't just get them to automatically rely on that. I get them to work on decoding words and breaking them down, and this is a great tool for doing it, by just breaking down into syllables and getting them to do that. You know, you don't have to sit with making up cards and drawing things and drawing lines between the words. You can just click that syllables and then tell them to do it in steps. And obviously you can get them to reflect on the writing that they've done by highlighting the parts of the speech. You know, if they used a good variety of different types of speech in there, or is it all nouns and there's not enough verbs? And that's the idea. So again, an amazing tool for just writing. Line focus as well. You know, I work with a lot of students that in the past have used reading rulers or reading lines. Again, things that are lost that you then, as a department, as a faculty head, has to buy more in, to then get lost again. You know, so it's really, again, really useful that they can have that. Just take away minimise all those distractions, and they can choose, as you see under line focus, between 1, 3 or 5 lines, so they can personalise that as they see fit. And again, don't have to have that physical reading ruler that again is drawing attention to people in class. You know, all kids are using devices in their class. You know, they're all using Chromebooks and things like that in my school. So it's makes such a difference that they can just have the line focus and Immersive Reader. We also have the picture dictionary. Again, that extra help in comprehension. I work in the additional support needs base I work in. We have quite a wide range of students, but we have an area in it called fully supported, which is very complex needs students, and they would use support maker symbols, which the symbols that are used in Immersive Reader are from Boardmaker. Again, I remember the days of in the past having to print all these pictures out, and cut them out, laminate them, stick them all over the boards, lose them, destroy, damage them, spill coffee on them, having to do it all again. So the amount of time I can save by just getting this up on the big screen, going to the words and then just bringing them up and seeing the image, it's just such an amazing, powerful tool to do that. We also have, I think I've skipped on one too many. We also have a translator built into Immersive Reader, which again is really, really useful. I used to work with a lot of Japanese students in the Edinburgh Academy. We had a lot of Japanese students come over, again, almost no English. So again, showing the translator tool in Immersive Reader means I can build the OneNote class notebooks for the whole class. And again, the accessibility is there by default. The translator features there in OneNote and Immersive Reader, so they can just click on it and they can just bring up one word. Or what they can do is, of course, do the whole document. So I'll find it far. So I think I got my slides in. I think I got my slides in the wrong order. So yes, you can do the whole document, and then you can see as well that they can jump between the Japanese version or the original. A funny story from just a few months ago, we had a pupil in my new school join who's Polish, and he's autistic, but he was mute and he wouldn't say a word. He hadn't done in his previous school. He came over from Poland about a year ago, went to one sort of primary school for a few months, and then came to us. And there was all this kind of EA work in the background going on. And I was teaching him ICT, so I only had him for I think this is his second lesson, and I was trying to get him to read out to me, and I was trying various strategies. And what I did was I converted all his stuff into Polish and showed him that, and I got him, and he hadn't said anything to anyone, and he just turned to me and went, "No, yeah, it's okay, I can read it." So I turned it back to English, and he read the whole thing perfectly. So it was that, it's that everyone was just assuming it was a language difficulty, but again, being able to immediately, well, I've got everything you need, I've got, I can translate it into Polish for you, it's all there, you can now follow the instructions of what the task is. And he went, "No, it's okay, I can read it myself." so I thought that was really, really funny, really eye-opening. Now, this here is just a little video of all the sort of features. Now, I'm going to just move on just because of timing, but when I slide the slide, I just made this video to show that a student can go through every piece of Immersive Reader and access every feature within about, I was aiming for 90 seconds because Microsoft make these videos of you can in 90, but I think I did it in about 2 minutes. So I'll let you see that one yourself, but it just shows you how easy it is to jump between, page color, translating it, line focus, breaking it down to syllables. It's so quick and easy to do. But what I did want to do was much focus on the actual examples. Apologies for the blurriness of this photo because I had to grab it from a tweet. Now, this is an example from my school. My school is not technology advanced at all. Okay, we're limited in what we have. It's a state school, so we have devices for students. As I mentioned, we have kind of Chromebooks, which again they're fairly basic, but they do the job. But we don't have enough for everyone, of course. So this student here, this young boy, that you can't see, but his name's Luke. He very dyslexic, but hadn't had any support before. Getting text, copies like this. This is an example of a piece in English, and he couldn't read it. He just couldn't read it. There was no way he could read it. So again, he would be relying on someone in class to support him to read it, or just go without. So what I did was I started working one-to-one. I showed him the tools such as OneNote and of course Office Lens, which we're about to go to in a second. But you can see that by a bit of work, we've identified that his coloured overlay is a kind of pinkish colour. And again, with young teenage boys, they don't really want to be carrying about pink overlays and putting overlays, or even worse, the glasses that you used to get with the pink tint on them. Again, would never be worn by a 14-year-old boy. But what we can do is we can use OneNote and Office Lens. So we use Office Lens to scan it, drop it into his OneNote English book, and then he could listen to it that way. So again, I don't have to do anything. I can just stand back, let him listen to it, and then I can start the discussion. So much time has been saved, you know, for him to just decode that and comprehend what he's to do, and then he can move on to the task. Now, also will be his writing. So this same young man was asked to write a speech for a charity. He picked Oxfam, as you can see from the example. He wrote that out because he copied from some various websites, probably Wikipedia or the Oxfam website. And he could, you know, he used to do a solo talk on that. He couldn't read it back. You know, he'd written it, but there's no way he could read it back. Now, what I could be doing was, you know, again, taking it myself, typed it out into wee notes and things like that. And but again, that's going to take me a long time with him. I'm going to have to do it a lot. It's going to take a long time to do that when I don't need to. Because what I was able to do was use Office Lens to scan his writing. I was then able to use Office Lens to then drop it into OneNote and pull out the text here. So you can see here, that's what I've done, is I've scanned that and pulled that out. And that was all done very, you know, I'm going to show you in a video, which is less than 90 seconds, if I can, to how easy that is. Now, I will give a disclaimer that it wasn't absolutely perfect, just the way is maybe like something like automated captions on, you know, videos that are on internet is, you know, it wasn't perfect, but what I was able to do was get all of it pretty much as I needed it, and just go in and tweak. And you see some of the you know, the grammar is a bit off, you know, helping blocked capitals and things like that. But again, I've managed to pull out all the text there, and it saved me so much time, and it's so much easier. And then what he's able to do, and what he did for his solo talk, was he couldn't read the notes, but what he did was he put his phone, he had one earpiece in with his AirPods, whatever he had, and he just hit play every so often, and he just listened to the instructions, and then he was able to give his solo talk. So when he needed the key points, you know, maybe it's facts or figures, he just pressed play on one immersive reader, and it read it out. So it was really, really impressive. So I'm just going to go. So here's a little video. I'm going to give it a shot and see if we can get it to work. So what I've done here, I just wanted to show you how incredible this is. It's almost like witchcraft. But basically what I've done is I've got Empire Film Magazine. I've put it on my kitchen table, and I've scanned, and within 90 seconds, I'm going to get the text out of a magazine, drop it into OneNote, and then get Immersive Reader working its action on it. So let's see if we can get this. It may be laggy, but let's see if we can get it to work. So basically, I'm using Office Lens on the Windows 10 app. I have a Surface Go, again, not a powerful machine at all. So you can see I use Office Lens, I get an image of it. I've used the document feature to make it when I scan it. So, you know, Office Lens is an amazing tool. It's a pocket scanner for you if you can get it on iOS or Android or Windows 10, of course. So I'm now going to upload it straight into OneNote. Now I've went for raw authenticity because I'm just letting it kind of go and go and go, you know, rather than editing it happens instantly. It takes a little bit of time, but I think in the world of lockdown and remote learning, we're used to things lagging and taking a little time. So it'll take, you know, it might take you 30, and then there you go, it's ready. So what I'll do, I'll now be able to paste it in. So the image will appear. You can see created by Office Lens. I go to my OneNote, I right click, copy text from picture, I right click again, I hit paste. There you go, the text is out, and then all the student or anyone or myself, because I use Immersive Reader all the time myself, is to hit Immersive Reader and boom. Look at that. So that, if you timed that, I didn't time it. I should really put a clock on that video. I'll maybe do that next. That was with less than 90 seconds. I was able to go from there to there. So it's a really, really incredible tool. So definitely get it out as well. Now that's the reading side. Obviously writing, students have been asked to do so much writing as well, that maybe because they are remote, you know, and they're not with their teachers, where a teacher maybe would have just went up and had a little quick sort of chat with them. But now it's everyone's to be written. So amazing tool you can use is Dictate, that's built in, and I love it because it's just there. built into likes of OneNote, Word Online, so many of the tools that you can just click that button and off it goes, and it works in the browser. And I love that fact because it means like even you've got devices like Chromebooks, which are totally restricted to just the Chrome browser in their school, I can still access the Dictate if I get them onto OneNote online, so it's perfect. So here's how accurate it is. Dictate is an incredible tool. It will even understand. So with a very strong Glaswegian accent, I was able to do that. I didn't even have an external mic. I just used the internal mic. I will, again, disclaimer, I've done a lot of practice because I've spent a lot of time working with students doing it. So I've been, and that's another key thing as well. If you want the students to master the tools, master them yourself. So with Dictate, I've worked really hard to try and, really focus on pronunciation. And I mean, I think we do it all now anyway because of tools like, your Amazon Alexa, you're having to, and Siri and things that you're having to do it because otherwise it goes, sorry, I did not understand that. So I think we're all doing that, but yeah, again, so don't want to play again. So maths tools, again, let's go into the next stage, maths or math. I'll go back to my school days. I didn't like school. And there's a number of reasons I didn't like school. I wasn't very good at maths, I didn't like school. But the main reason I did not like school was because my handwriting was dreadful. My handwriting was awful. And remember, it was a long time since I've been to school. But I had a terrible time. No access to technology. I just spent my whole life getting told, Chris, draw it, right meter, draw it. And yeah, I could do it. It would take me 5 times the length of time to do anything, but I could write. But again, I wouldn't have bothered. I was a teenage boy. I wanted it done and out of the way. So my writing was rubbish. So people couldn't understand what I was doing, saying. Also, when I was coming to things like maths, I used to hate maths. To give you those maths like notebooks or jotters, as we call them in Scotland, with the tiny little squares. And you can never fit anything in them. And do you know what I mean? So it's like if you try and fit a number and it'll be all over the place. What I love about OneNote is when you put, I don't know if you can see with the light, but I've made that into the square grids, and I can make those squares as big as I want, so I can make them huge. And this is really important. Again, I've worked with a student who's dysgraphia, and they found this a total transformational thing because they were getting these huge maths notebooks, A3 size, but then we started moving on to digital inking with OneNote, and he's able to just make the squares as big as he wants, and then he can shrink them back down when he's ready. For me, even drawing things like shapes are a really difficult thing. So I love tools like Ink to Shape. So I'm able to go up here and click Ink to Shape, and then I'll draw a rubbish square. But there you go. It's good. Look how perfect that square is. That's a beautiful square. No, that's a beautiful triangle. There you go. That's a beautiful pentagon. I had to think what that shape was. There's also the ruler up the top. Again, I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler very well. So the ruler's beautiful because it has that angle of which direction you want to get it in. Okay, now it also helps with the steps of in OneNote. So in terms of doing an equation. So if I have a basic sum there, if I go into maths, click it, then I go to evaluate. So it solves it for me. Then I get the solution steps, and you can see here the immersive reader logo pops up. So I can then just go to there and click it. But what I can also do is generate a quick quiz for them to then have a go at doing some questions. So you can see I'm supporting in or the tool is anyway. It's inbuilt. It's by default. Okay, it's integrated. It's there, and it will give me a whole series of practice questions for them to do. Again, lightening the load, giving me no work off of the back of one question that I've just picked up in my head, 16 times 15. I've been able to give them a whole series of problems to work through. Now, the best thing about doing those kind of forms questions is, you see here straight away, immersive reader is built in, it's ready, it's there to go. So again, I don't have to worry about making these practice quizzes for my students, but again, they can't access them because of dyslexia or other literacy difficulties. they can just immediately launch Immersive Reader and they're good to go. So it's fantastic. And there you go, there's how it looks. Back to, and you see all our options, such as our page colour and align focus and translate there as well. So we've covered reading, writing, maths. Final bit, and in some cases is the most important bit when you come to an inclusive classroom, especially a remote inclusive classroom where we're no longer in that same classroom, the same four walls anymore, that we have to find ways to develop communication and develop these skills. A tool that has been absolutely incredible in my classroom in terms of making an impact with my students is Flipgrid. Okay, so Flipgrid is a video recording app that allows you to then share them on a grid. And some of my students, I have one student in particular who would not engage with any form of learning, or wouldn't, until I showed him Flipgrid. Now, the thing with the students I work with, they all have autism to a varying degree, but they don't want to appear on camera. And everyone just assumes that Flipgrid is kind of Snapchat or Instagram for education, and it's so much more than that. The students never appear on camera, yet they've done some incredible things, incredible pieces of work as well. Now, when you create Flipgrid, you create a grid for your class, name it whatever you want, and then you create a topic. So here's just an example there, but you can see there the arrow pointing again. The beautiful thing about Flipgrid in terms of accessibility and inclusion is that the Immersive Reader logo is there. So that piece of text, again, we can use Immersive Reader. You can see again that for students that maybe have difficulties with organisation and getting so many attachments all over the place, you can just link all the things that you need into that topic. So you can even, what you can do is have your individual instruction. You can upload either an image or a video. You can record a video of yourself, giving those verbal, which I do quite a lot, give you verbal instructions to students. Again, so they're getting it from, and then you could tell them the thing about all those attachments. Again, the problem in a remote classroom is that you are giving them all these attachments, but maybe not giving them a sequence or an order or breaking it down into steps. That's how Flipgrid, and then having the video as a topic focus. You can see that's just a YouTube video in this example. But if I had a video of myself, I could just tell them, right guys, we're going to do, I want you to try the Kahoot quiz first. Then I want you to have a look at the OneNote notebook for some ideas. Then I want you to do some work on Minecraft. And then I want you to, once you've done that, come back to Microsoft Teams and let's discuss what you've done. Let's share ideas and combines back and forth, and then you could always top it off with a Flipgrid video to end it all off as well. The reasons I love it in terms of accessibility, this was a photo of me quite a while ago, so I didn't have the beard. So what you can do, any video, not only does it automatically generate captions, but it allows you to edit them as well, which is fantastic. I've been doing this yesterday because I'm creating a video for my school's prize giving. But again, I'm making sure that every video that has dialogue in it, the captions are there. Okay, we need to make sure that it's accessible for all. And obviously, with someone like me with my Scottish accent, it's important. With strong Scottish accent, it's important I have that option because that technology isn't going to pick me up all the time. That's for sure. So you can see here that a lot of the messages I will do, I'll just talk to my students like that. I can put little prompts up in Flipgrid with the text. I do a lot, as I said before, I do a lot of literacy interventions. So what I do is when I'm teaching them spelling rules, I bring up the words, but they're seeing me as well. I'm not just giving them a cold kind of video with yes, I still do that sometimes, but it's lovely to have that. I think that's what the students are missing, is that connection with their teacher. I know my youngest daughter loves her teacher, but their school hasn't allowed them to do video, has set them up to do video messages or anything. So she's not saw her teacher in 3 months, and it's only been through text, on the assignments, which is a shame because they're missing that connection that they get from seeing their teacher. Again, that beautiful face of mine, it's yeah, who wouldn't want to see that? But I do think that's probably an improvement. Again, a lot of students, if I ever do get them to appear on camera, can immediately, put an emoji over their face, just like that. You could do it for fun as well with your students. But again, it's that, the thing, as soon as the camera comes on, people react differently. They go, whereas it's like, well, shove an emoji over your face, and then just tell us what you want. And then the great thing is they're not looking at their face. Because I don't know if you're the same, but as soon as you appear on a video call, you're immediately looking at yourself and you're criticising yourself and going, my hair's a bit awful. So just, let's get rid of that and let's just focus on what you're saying in the video that you're doing, Now, the beautiful thing again, if you want to remove yourself completely, is that you can use the blackboard and whiteboard feature. This is how the student I got to engage with it was. I started showing them that, and they loved it, and they called it the rubbish drawing videos. Can we make another rubbish drawing video today in Flipgrid? But the great thing was they did the work, they did the task, they did the learning intention and achieved, they're meeting outcomes because they were using this tool, and they would start, if it was a story recap, they would start drawing it out, and then they would tell me exactly what had happened in the story and what the meaning was, which they never would have done if I had got them to write it down in a book or a piece of paper. They just never would have done that. So it really is. If you've never tried Flipgrid and never thought about using it before, I'd be put off because it's a video recorded, it's a kind of Snapchatted, then please have a look at it. And the team at Flipgrid are amazing, and I'll help you as well. I'm happy to support you in any way you can, because it's so many things. And even if you don't use it necessarily students to start with, it's a brilliant tool for teaching, just using yourself and recording your own video. I've recorded hours of videos, little small videos. The recording limit's 10 minutes, but what student wants to watch a video? I know myself, I don't really want to watch a video longer than 10 minutes. It's educational. I like them broken down into little bits, and otherwise I skip through them. So it's an incredible tool. It really is. It's got so much power and potential, and especially it's inclusive. As I mentioned about the fully supported students that I'm working with, I can get them to drag in an emoji or maybe try and get them to draw something, or they can upload an image. They can get an image that's in a photo, and I can get them to maybe just speak over it. I can just get them to, or a series of them, and then I can get them on camera. And that's the beauty of it with it as well, that you can also do screen recording, so you can do your instructional stuff, but you can also then cut back to recording you as your face. So it's not just a 5-minute screen capture, it's a 5-minute video with some screen capture and you giving that, giving your own voice to it, which is what Flipgrid is all about. So that kind of brings me to the end of my session. And it's a bit of a whirlwind tour. I really, as I say, it's not a deep dive today. It wasn't a deep dive. It was maybe just to get you thinking about that inclusive practice and how you can set that up as your starting point, not the kind of afterthought. So hopefully that gets you to think about ways that you can incorporate the likes of OneNote, and obviously using Microsoft Teams, you can house everything. You can house your OneNote class notebooks in there. The communication can happen. The students love the praise stickers in Teams. If you're not using them already, then I would recommend you use them, because they're amazing. The kids love them as soon as you give them a wee praise sticker in Teams. It's brilliant. So you can house it all in Teams. You can have your OneNote notebook generating practice quizzes from forms, which has got a immersive reader. They've got Dictate there. They've got Translate. They've got these, if they've got options to digital linking, they've got these little tools to draw in, and then of course Flipgrid, which can make such a difference, because all they need to do is there's no big setup of get your jotter, it's hit record and just tells it. And the beauty about Flipgrid, it's not about making beautifully edited videos, it's about making real videos. It's being real. It's about genuine, authentic videos that mean something and say something. So thank you very much for listening to me today, going on, telling you some of my stories. I think that's the key in the strange times we are, that is that we get these stories out, because that's what we as educators want to hear. We want to hear, the tools are amazing and it's great to have the tools, and what they can do, but it's really the impact and how these stories make a difference to people. And hopefully you've seen as well, it's mastering a few is the key bit. Don't try to take them all on, but master a few. So things like OneNote, Flipgrid and immersive reader, immerse yourself in those kind of tools and make yourself a master. Then you will get your children or students or whoever you work with, you'll get them to master them too. So if you're not part of the Microsoft Educator Centre, you definitely should be. There's the link, there's a QR code. For attending the session, you'll get some points in the MEC. There's my achievement codes, so do jump on and get them, get some points. If you haven't started your journey to becoming a certified Microsoft Innovative Educator, do it today if you're free. The weather's rubbish outside here anyway. I'm sure it's not going to be great where you are either. So make sure you jump on and sign up and do some courses. There's a Transforming Learning with Microsoft Teams course. There's ones in Building Class Notebook. There's a couple of Flipgrid ones, are great, and you can just dip in and out as you see fit. So I would recommend that, absolutely. And then just time for a wee bit of the old shameless self-promotion. You'll find me on Twitter at cgerrard02. I'm happy to help anyone I can. So please do reach out to me at any point about anything. If I don't answer, I'll try and find somebody that does. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I think it's just over now back to Ashley and over for some questions if there's any.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was really fantastic, and it's great to hear somebody else's insight on using it in the classroom. You know, for me, one of the themes that I wanted for this week was inclusion and accessibility. You know, and I really think that it's not just a benefit to the students. I think if you use the technology to make your learning materials and assessments or activities more accessible, it actually frees up your time as a teacher. And that for me is one of the biggest perks of kind of bringing these in.
I use Immersive Reader. Obviously, I've not got any reading difficulties, but I use Immersive Reader nearly on a daily basis. You know, if I get a long document from work, then I will hit I've not known to it. I'll hit Immersive Reader, and I'll go out a run, or I'll go out a walk or something, and I'll have it on my headset and I'll just listen to it. You know, if it's a large report or a big document I need to get into. So I find myself, you know, doing that all the time. It's like, oh, it's quite long. I'll just Immersive Reader. Because there's a bit of an expression that goes about called TLDR, too long didn't read. So I've kind of made a positive spin of that, and I told Mike Tolson this, who's the project manager for OneNote. So I said we should change it to TLIR. It's too long, so I used Immersive Reader.
Brilliant. That's a really good idea. Actually, I might try that. So I have a question coming in here, and I think this is something that I've seen coming up a good few times during the week. So I'd really like to kind of ask your opinion on it. So yeah. Do you have any particular strategies for teaching students to navigate the technology? So how do you get students up and running and started so that they know what they're doing?
I just, in terms of, you know, setting up tools like OneNote, Team, as I say, I think I could have said that before, but to take a few core tools, you know, you're much better to master those core tools, the ones that you identify as being critical to your classroom, and then embed them in everything you do. So my students, I say, don't expect them to immediately be up and running. And I say the danger as well with technology training is that, you know, you get shown everything at once and then never follow up. So we do the same, and then this expectation with the students that, oh, they're great with technology, they'll know it. And then you think, well, yeah, they're great with an Xbox or their phone, but as soon as you get them into a work collaborative setting like on Teams or OneNote, they've not got an idea what to do. So really my starting point has been, you know, since I joined the school I'm in just now, I immediately started using OneNote Class Notebook. That was where we housed everything, and then using Teams as the hub to bring that together, and then Flipgrid. So I've got really 4 key tools, which are Teams, OneNote, Flipgrid, and Wakelet, which obviously is a Microsoft tool, but it's a Microsoft partner. But again, Wakelet allows me to then add URLs and topics, and again, Immersive Reader's built into Wakelet, so it's all accessible. So my key message is, you know, make that the foundations of your house, the apps you want to use, and use them all the time and keep revisiting them and revisiting them. Okay, and it just, you know, don't expect them to run before they can walk, you know, so give them, you know, a very clear thing to do with that tool, you know, so, and then build and build and build. So that's what I've been doing, which has made the students that have engaged with remote, not all my students have at all, but a few that have engaged with remote learning, it's made it easier because we've already been doing it for 6 to 9 months in the classroom, and even with quite profound additional support needs, I find students that can do the tasks, and they can talk in Teams, they can do the work in OneNote, and it's just because I've made that the foundation of our classroom. Okay, that's this digital classroom, and again, I made inclusion the heart of it by showing them Immersive Reader, reminding them about it, showing them Dictate, reminding them about it. Okay, that's the key thing, you know. It's like, oh, did you dictate that? No, I'll go back and try and dictate that and see if it improves it, you know. Or did you read back what you've written there? No, go back to Immersive Reader, put your headphones on, listen, and does it sound right? Yeah. I did a blog post. Just early in the week, just the weekend there, and then immediately I finished it. I immediately went on to Immersive Reader and listened to it. Even then, I still missed a typo or two, but it just shows you how important it is to get these tools integrated and embedded in your classroom.
I completely agree with you, Chris. You know, one of the things that you just hit on there is one of the features that I love about it. You know, if you use Immersive Reader almost as a proofreading tool for students, you know, kind of get them to check their work, you know, it really develops their reading, their writing, all of their key skills there. You know, kind of, so if you flip the accessibility tool on its head, you know, it's very usable for people, you know, who are confident readers as well. If you just
tell everyone, you say to them, you know, even ones that have not got literacy difficulties, you say, have you listened back to that immersive reading? That's just the way. So it's everyone. It's inclusive. Everyone is doing it.
Okay, so I think that's all the questions. Chris, there's tons of praise coming in here and really positive feedback. You know, I think you gave us great insight into how you use the accessibility tools yourself, and it was really powerful to hear you know, your own personal experiences in the classroom there, particularly coming from you know, a classroom kind of predominantly working with additional learning needs. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, the key thing as well, just to say, finish, is obviously the message is about the technology, because a lot of people think you have to have these advanced technological setups, but you can see there, just with you know, the school I'm in, it's very behind, and then we've got students just relying on their phone and things like that. But you can make it work. And that young boy, Luke, is totally transformed his school life, because he just couldn't access anything, and now he's producing amazing work, and his teachers are so full of praise for him. So it's so powerful.
And I'm going to finish on my favorite, you know, accessible by default. So
yeah,
thank you so much, Chris.
Asking.
It was an absolute pleasure to have you join us this morning, and we really appreciate your time and your expertise.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for listening to me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the sessions. And well done, Ashley, in setting up such a great programme.
Thanks,
they all sound amazing.
Team effort here. You know, it's great to be able to bring these sessions to staff. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I've enjoyed it. It's been great.